Regina King for Cadillac Escalade.
When people ask, Regina, do you like to compete? I say, bring it on. Those are the moments that drive you to achieve more. And when you win, you keep reaching higher. To me, that's what the Cadillac Escalade represents. It's always evolving in technology, in design, everything. Because success isn't the end, it's just the first step to what comes next.
The 2021 Cadillac Escalade. Never stop arriving.
Our retired USF political science professor and our person that knows it about politics and stuff like that. And Dr. McManus, we got the big vice presidential debate tonight, which should be a little saner than what we saw with the presidential debate. And this thing, I'm guessing that that Kamala Harris is going to try to push it toward the failures of the administration on the coronavirus, and the vice president is going to try to push it toward the socialism that would come with Kamala Harris, who most people feel, if Biden wins, will become the president before the end of 4 years.
Well, see, Jack, you don't even need me as an analyst because that's perfect. This debate promises to really have them contrast their issue positions with each other, because that was sorely missing in the first debate. Actually, if you look back to 2016, the vice presidential debate had fewer than one half of the viewers of the presidential, but you might see the reverse of this. Particularly, I expect you'll see people stay tuned in a little bit longer than they did for the presidential one, which people were just tuned in and tuned out. But this is very important because the line of succession, that's each of these would step into the presidency if something were to happen to the president. And both of them are aging and both have health issues. So I think this is really going to be interesting, and I fully expect the moderator, Susan Page, to have a much better control over these two.
Yeah, and with no, or if there is any slant at all on her part, it would probably be more toward Pence.
Well, she's certainly written a great book on Barbara Bush, probably one of the best books on Barbara Bush I've ever read. But I think that these two know the stakes are high. They cannot let their whole campaigns melt down further than what they did after the first presidential debate. And I think the styles are very different. You know, Kamala Harris is an experienced prosecutor. She remember, she put it to Biden in their initial round of Democratic debate.
Oh, yeah. Said some things about Biden that haven't been repeated by the mainstream media, unfortunately, but
right.
Then she became his vice presidential candidate.
And then, of course, a lot of people forget that Pence is a much better debate than people remember because he's not in the limelight that much. But he was a radio talk show host, as you know. He has a reputation for being able to quickly answer something and fill it with facts and very matter of fact. So I think you're going to have a much more issue-focused and issue contrast type debate tonight.
Those radio guys, they can't debate. We all know that. Dr. McManus, what do you think the political strategy behind President Trump declassifying all the documents regarding the Russia probe and the Hillary email investigation?
Something else for Democrats to have to address, and obviously a lot of the major Democratic-leaning talk cable shows are not going to mention it much at all. It's going to be, though, get out the vote mobilizing pieces of information for Republicans to use. It's obviously a get out the vote technique.
Yeah, and totally ignored by the Tampa Bay Times this morning. It's not in there at all. At least I couldn't find it. I thought that was amazing because this is a pretty big story. I mean, implicating Hillary Clinton further and even getting Obama involved in this thing, that the kind of activity that should never have happened.
The only problem with this is, and it's serious, legally serious, But for a lot of people right now, they're at a stage, and I'm talking about sort of the average person that doesn't fixate on politics 24/7. They're looking at the problems facing this country in their own households, and they're just desperately begging for somebody to give some real examples of what their side is going to do to fix some of these huge problems facing our country. And they're looking ahead more than looking back.
Well, of course, looking at all the polling data right now, Trump may as well go on and give it up. But I guess, as has been pointed out a couple of times, he lost that race in 2016, too.
Well, the polls in Florida, you had two come out this week, both with, within margin of error, which means a tie. And one was a tie, and the other one showed 6%, but had a small sample size. And so basically, Florida, the biggest swing state with 29 electoral college votes, is still a toss-up state. And there are a lot of other battleground states that are in similar situations. So the polls can give a good view of sort of the popular vote, but what you want to look at are the individual battleground state polls, because that's the electoral college view, and that's what wins presidencies.
Yep. Well, it's always great to hear from you, our premier cephalogist, Dr. Susan McManus, retired USF political science professor, who's kept us enlightened on politics for a long time now. And thanks for joining us, Dr. McManus, and we'll talk again soon.
Thank you, and go Rays.
Go Rays.
In times of need, this is what most insurance sounds like.
Thank you for holding. What's your policy number?
But when you have coverage from AAA, you've got insurance with 3 A's, and that sounds like this.
Thank you for calling AAA. Is everyone okay?
This is the sound of the savings you get on insurance. But this is the sound of AAA savings when you include a membership with your coverage. Insurance with AAA? That's service worth singing about.
Insurance.
So does your insurance sound like insurance? Or does it sound like insurance with AAA? A brand that's been helping members for over 100 years. Visit AAA.com/insurance for a free quote and save up to 20% on auto and home.